One thing that's been very transparent throughout the process of approving the Grove development is the willingness of the Board of Commissioners to put their interest and the developer's interest above the interests of the voters and citizens of Henry County, Georgia. Thank God we still have a democracy that can vote out of office in the next 2 cycles of elections the people who failed to serve its citizens' voices. There will be some qualified minority candidates on the ballot that have strong convictions to safeguard our air, water, and green zones in the county. Amen.
This item is a follow-up to the board's March 18th rezoning approval for the Grove, a 1,277-acre mixed-use master plan development located along Highway 1941. At that time, the board approved the rezoning with the understanding that a formal development agreement would follow. What we are asking for is adoption of the finalized regional master plan development agreement, a 40-year framework that governs the design, build-out, phasing, and long-term management of the Grove. The Grove includes a balanced mixes of uses, nearly 2,500 single-family homes, 2,760 multifamily units, over 670,000 square feet of commercial and retail, and 1.3 million square feet of office and institutional space. There's also a 180-room hotel, more than 150 acres of open space, 8 miles of trails, 35 pocket parks, and 6 separate amenity parcels. The applicant has received an official will serve letter from the Clayton County Water Authority confirming their intent to provide water and sewer service to the site. However, a formal servicing agreement still needs to be executed between the developer and the utility provider. This is outside the scope of this development agreement.
Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of the agreement, please come forward.
And I am a state of Georgia certified water, wastewater, and stormwater treatment plant operator with years of experience with the City of Atlanta Department of Watershed Management, so I'm well qualified to share my concerns about the development. Stormwater experts stated that best practices would be applied to safeguard stormwater runoff. He was vague at best about the exact procedures that would be used to prevent runoff. I think he really meant to say that silt fencing would be the only best practice procedure that would be used to prevent erosion and stormwater runoff in most cases. In most cases, silt fencing doesn't help very much to prevent runoff onto citizens' private property and into streams, rivers, and watersheds. I can say for certain that I would file a lawsuit against the developers at the first sign of trouble with erosion and stormwater flowing across my property. What's more important is the water quality available and the constituents in the water that can cause chronic health issues for the consumers.
Any questions from the board? I'll start with Commissioner Wilson down at the end.
Why a 40-year development agreement? How do we get to a 40-year development agreement?
And it could be 30-year, it could be 20-year, it could be 50-year, but we know this is not going to happen overnight. So we allowed a 40-year development agreement, and they may finish it in 20, 25 years. Who knows? But we want to make sure we recover for that length of time.
We're currently redoing a ULDC, correct?
Correct.
So with this development agreement, is it going to use the ULDC that's on what we have now, or does it have to follow the ones that's going to be approved several months down the road, the one that's being rewritten?
The development agreement will take precedence because that's what we're doing. We're creating essentially a development agreement for the Grove itself, right? But a lot of what we're using in our current code and our upcoming code or update is packed as part of this. So, I mean, depends on how you want to look at it. It will follow what we're doing today.
So as our ULDC changes in the next 40 years, they're going to have to, what's that process look like?
So again, the development agreement will be quote unquote the Bible for that development. You know, I think we've worked well enough with GeoSam that if there's something that needs to be updated, we could do that. We'll bring it back before the board so you guys can vote on it. But I mean, essentially, we've laid out everything that needs to happen in the Grove within this development agreement.
And he mentioned that the Clayton County Water Authority is going to provide the services, the sewer and water, is correct?
Yes, sir.
I guess my question to Clayton County Water, what happens if they can't provide these services years down the road? Because you're going to have to commit a certain amount of water and a certain amount of sewer treatment to this project. And if they can't do that, does that mean that the Henry County Water Authority will have to step in to help with that?
With the agreement, we have to go ahead and commit to the ask of capacity. And so that means that we are guaranteeing that capacity at whatever the 40-year, 20-year, whatever that build is. We do have a major concern, as the gentleman mentioned, about stormwater. So that is something that you'll hear more about. I think I talked a little bit about that before, because that's the direct impact to our reservoir, which ultimately would be a cost to us later. But we've been working directly with GeoSam as well, and of course our relationship with Henry County Water is critical for us. So if we commit to that, then that means we'll serve it.
So when you did your letter of intent, I just want to make sure that we're clear. If your board does not approve this, then what do we do?
If our board does not approve, then ultimately it would go back to Henry County for their opportunity to serve.
I just don't want us to put the cart before the horse, knowing that if their board denies this, it's going to flip back to us, and then we're not in a position to be able to have what we need from the developers. So, right. Mr. Holder, if you can go ahead, because
I agree with what you're saying. So that's why there's a separate agreement.
I understand with the agreement. I get it. So, but like I said, if they do the water, they have their agreement, right? They do their own. Right. But if their board denies and they cannot, who's going to service it?
That will be, if the Henry County Water Authority, they would have to make their own agreement.
That's why he's standing there.
And if nobody services, then it doesn't happen.
Correct.
I get that. We're being transparent.
Oh, we are
that
being
way
transparent.
I understand. For me, my transparency for me is why I'm asking the questions. Okay, Mr. Holder, again, you sent the email, and I just want us to be clear so I understand before I raise my hand.
First and foremost, our greatest concern is clean water. And I think the cart may be before the horse, because if you approve this development agreement today, then Mr. Frank still has to go back and get approval from his board. And then we're back again. Does Henry County provide, assuming that your board said no? Then we're back. Who's going to be the provider? The key to it is this. The Board of Commissioners needs to be mindful of the fact of any of these development agreements need to be consistent with the rules and regulations of what the reservoirs in this case already have in place. And I know Chair Harrell said, are you in compliance with the laws of Georgia? Sure they are. So are we. So it's what your permits are based on. If we lower our standards, then we have EPD, EPA, Corps of Engineers, who gave us the permits to operate our reservoirs, same thing with them. Then we have to contend with the possibility of being denied or losing permits with them. So clean water is the main thing. I think the obvious provider should be Clayton County Water Authority. I just think you might be getting ahead of the game, and it might be better to approve the development agreement once you know who the real provider will be, and it should be Clayton County.
If at some point Clayton County does not service this and Henry County Water Authority services, then we will abide by what Henry County Water Authority service agreements allow. What the Board of Commissioners is voting on today is a master development agreement, which will dictate how this project will proceed and protect the residents for up to 40 years. So with that being said, I move to approve the master development agreement with the 2 modifications that were shown earlier.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Those that are opposed?
I abstain. And the
Please
reason for abstaining is, again, I just want to make sure that when it goes to the Clayton County Board, and then it comes back, if it has to come back to us, and the restrictions and all of that, what we have, and I get it, you would have to abide by, but I'm just still not confident knowing that we're putting the cart before the horse. So that's why I'm abstaining.
Hold on.
Okay.
Did you?
What I need?
No, I was making sure we got.
You got 3 votes. That's not majority.